right, rocking out here with Alien Gear Holsters, and you know who I got with me today. You saw him at SHOT Show. We did a little show there. It was nice to see you there, Andrew. What's going on, Andrew Branca?
Finally, in person, we got to meet. It was great.
I know. It's pretty dang cool. How was your SHOT Show experience?
It was awesome. Just 2 days. 2 days was plenty for me. So.
Yep. Yeah, I know. 2 days is probably a good amount of days. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that we are going to try to keep this right down to 30 minutes. Well, maybe 3:30 Pacific time. That'd be 6:30 Eastern time. We might have to close it off right then, but don't go anywhere because we have a surprise for you. We're going to launch right into another live show, but we're going to be remote, where we're going to give you a behind-the-scenes look at something really cool. You don't want to miss that. So just stay tuned after the show. But it is Wednesday. This is Calling the Shots. We've got a cool video we're going to show you. You guys are going to make the call. We're going to run some polls. You guys are going to tell us, is it a good shot, bad shot? We've got the attorney, Andrew Branca, who wrote the book, The Law of Self-Defense. So you know what time it is. It's time to fire away. All right. Hey, everybody. Do you have yourself the 5 elements of self-defense law? Do you have that? It's super easy to get. You can download that easily. Just go to this website right here, lawofselfdefense.com/CTS elements. You can download that for free. Put in your name and your email address. They're going to send that to you. You can download it. You can print it off. You can keep it with you while we're here live, so you can reference that, so you know the 5 elements of self-defense law, which you might need today, because you might need to know these things, because we're going to put you to the test, and you guys are going to be answering the question, is this a good shot or is it a bad shot? So also, I believe Mr. Branca is hooking y'all up with a free book. Correct.
Indeed, we're running a free book special, folks. So this book sells on Amazon for about $25 in shipping and handling. We're asking you to cover just the shipping and handling. We'll cover the cost of the book. We do these sales just a few times a year. This one is special just for the Calling the Shots audience. Just point your browser to lawofselfdefense.com/CTS book, and it's only up for a couple of days. So if you're interested in taking advantage, the next 48 hours would be the time to do that.
Get it done. After the show, after our next show, make sure you go on over there and get that free book. You can't go wrong. Alrighty, so Andrew, should we get into the little video section?
Sure, let me give people a heads up on what we'll be doing. So we'll be rolling through a little video. It's about a minute long. We'll loop it a few times. I'll talk through what's happening in the video so it's understandable. And then we'll ask all of you to participate in a survey. Now, if you're on YouTube, I'm afraid you may be out of luck. I think the survey only shows on Facebook, but we'll share the results of the survey with all of you. We're going to ask you, given the information you have at that point, does it look to you like a good shoot or a bad shoot? Then I'll add additional information, some additional context that you otherwise wouldn't know. And by the way, folks, this is exactly how police investigators and lawyers handle these cases. We start with a little bit of information. We come to a preliminary perspective on what we think happened, and then we get more information and adjust our context along the way. And as I add more information, we'll play the video again so you can watch it as I'm talking about the facts and the law. And then we'll ask you again, given this additional information, do you think it was a good shot, a good shoot, or a bad shoot? And we'll progress like that through the video and a variety of facts and law until we get to the half-hour mark, at which point we have a hard stop.
Yeah, and I also want to say, like, you feel free to comment good shot, bad shot, too, in comments. But in order for us to get the actual poll results, you'll have to participate in that poll, which will be on your screen here shortly. So let's get it going. Here we go. Check it out.
So what we have here is a woman talking with a man. This is a confrontation, a verbal confrontation. At this point, she backs up away from him. She's not interested in what he has to say. He pursues her. Another gentleman comes in from the right. It's a little confusing because they're all wearing black tops, but that second gentleman will take his top off in a moment, wear a white T-shirt. He's involved in this dispute. He's taken an interest. The woman doesn't really want him involved either, but he decides he's going to get involved in this argument, and he throws a punch at the first man, and the fisticuffs ensue. There's the strike. The woman gets in the way. She gets struck a couple times, and then it's just the men punching at each other. A couple hefty guys here making big swings, but a barehanded fight. So they're punching. At some point, the woman approaches and pulls a gun out of her purse as she gets closer, cycles the slide, points the gun, and I've deleted the actual shooting. But right then, she shoots the man who she was first talking with, this gentleman, and kills him. So at this point, let's go ahead and pause the video. Can we put this first survey up?
All righty, let's do it. Come to us.
And ask, just based on what you saw in that video, lacking complete information, which we'll provide in a moment, but just based on what you saw in that video, this woman shooting of that first man, does it look to you like it's a good shoot or a bad shoot?
There you go. So that poll should be popping up, and just answer the poll. And what do you think?
And while I'm actually not seeing it, Nate, so I don't know if anybody else is. Maybe it's just me.
Did you publish it, Riley? Yeah, there it is.
Good shoot or bad shoot. And while you guys are clicking on that, just a reminder, you can get this 5 elements infographics. Folks, if you don't understand these 5 elements, it's impossible for you to understand self-defense law. It's not that complicated. There's only 5 of them. We explain them here in this infographic. And if you go to that page, we also put together a micro course, like a 10-minute course explaining all these elements in further detail. You don't have to do that course if you don't want to. It is free, but if all you want to do is download the infographic, you can get that at lawselfdefense.com/CTS elements. And if you'd like to take advantage of the free $25 book offer, just cover the shipping and handling, you can get that at lawselfdefense.com/CTS book.
So, Andrew, I just want you to know right now, 95% of the people are saying this is a bad shot.
Bad shot. All right, so let's dive in and start adding additional information and see if we can add some additional context.
Okay, so publish that one, and then we're gonna show this video again here, and we're gonna get some more insider information. So stay tuned.
So some things we didn't mention at the start is that these two people, the man and the woman here, the man who ends up getting shot, are not strangers to each other. They were in a long-term relationship. It was a highly abusive relationship. The man is prone to violence, and the woman is aware of this, including violence that in the past has killed people. So the woman has this in her consciousness, and this contributes to her reasonable perception of what she thinks is happening here. She also knows that the man is known to carry a knife on his person. In fact, it would be discovered that he had the knife on his person during this fight. Now, this knowledge that she has of him is what we would call specialized knowledge. It's knowledge that the average stranger to these events would not know. It's not common knowledge. Common knowledge is things like big people tend to be stronger than small people, guns are dangerous, and so forth. This is unique knowledge she has because of her relationship, her knowledge of his history of violence, even deadly force violence. He served 15 years in prison over this previously, and she's aware of that. So knowing that information now, can we take another pause from the video, put the survey back up? Given that the woman has this knowledge in her mind at the moment she's intervening in this confrontation, does that change your opinion? Knowing that, can we do the survey again and ask if you believe it's a good shoot or a bad shoot?
There you go. The poll is up and running now. So, yeah, just click, is this a good shot for her, knowing what she knows about his past?
And I am looking for the... I am looking at the comments, folks. So if you're commenting, you put questions up, I can see those. And as you're doing the survey, I see some people are calling this vigilantism. I'm not quite sure I'd put it in that category. It's certainly... The prosecutor, by the way, decided ultimately not to bring charges against this woman on the basis, he said, of self-defense. This is really not a self-defense situation at all. She's obviously not being threatened personally at the time she pulls the trigger, but arguably it's a defense of others situation, which is how the prosecutor should have characterized it. But I guess if we expect our prosecutors to get the law right every time, we deserve to be disappointed. Okay, do we have any results so far from the survey?
Let's see. Yes, it did change a little, not much. 82% of the people now think it is a bad shot.
Okay, that's still a large majority, but a substantial drop from before. So let me add additional information here. Now, before we were talking about the reasonableness of her perceptions of the threat, given her specialized knowledge of this man's propensity for violence. That's the element of reasonableness, one of the 5 in the law of self-defense. We also have the element of avoidance. Could she simply have walked away from this confrontation? Now, this is in a jurisdiction where she would not have been obliged to walk away. It's not a duty to retreat state, but even in states that are stand your ground, a prosecutor can still argue that even though you didn't have a legal duty to retreat, if you could have safely retreated, that's what a reasonable person would have done, and therefore your failure to do that constitutes unreasonable conduct, loses you self-defense. But as we mentioned earlier, this isn't really a self-defense situation. This is really a defense of others situation. And when it's a defense of others situation, even if she were in a duty to retreat state, those duty to retreat states do not impose that legal duty if it would require you to leave innocent people behind, especially innocent people that you might have a duty to protect, friends, family, people you know, co-workers, as opposed to strangers, for example. So even in a duty to retreat state, you would not be obliged to meet that duty to retreat and leave behind someone she otherwise believed was in imminent danger of deadly harm. So knowing that information, that the fact that she could have physically walked away but would not have been legally required to do so, would not have been a legal duty, does that change the opinion on whether or not this is a good shoot or a bad shoot? And if we can
all right, and that poll is up right now, so there you go. The woman is the shooter. We don't actually see her pull the trigger, but we do see her pull the firearm, and she racks a slide, aims it at her, I don't know, ex-lover? Is that how you explain?
Yeah, ex-partner of some kind.
Whatever, of some sort, which she has prior knowledge of him causing, you said, death at one case, spent 15 years in prison. She is trying
and walking away. Her walking away would not have been a legal obligation on her part.
It was not a legal obligation for her to walk away, so she didn't have to retreat. She makes the shot, kills this man. Was it a good shot or was it a bad shot? What do you think? And
okay.
What are the polls saying so far? This is the new poll? We're at about 81%, so almost 80%, 20% good shot, 80% is saying bad shot right now. 79%, okay. So it's starting to fluctuate a little bit more. It's still 78% is saying bad shot right now. 78% is saying it's a bad shot.
Okay, so it went down even a little more, and we should try to make sure to take down the survey between runs, so to speak, so we're getting fresh information. And it's not just accumulating. All right, so still about 80%, large majority, 3/4 of the people believe it was a bad shoot. All this in the context, keep in mind, of a case in which the prosecution decided not to charge the woman for the killing. So another element that comes up in this, and if we want to roll the video, we can go ahead and do that if you have it available. So this woman obviously goes to deadly force in this confrontation. So it raises the question, well, was deadly force justified? Was there a deadly force threat here, an unlawful deadly force threat that needed to be neutralized? And what we're watching for the most part is 2 big guys swinging roundhouse punches at each other. And normally a barehanded fight between 2 people of similar size, strength, fighting ability is going to be deemed by the courts to be a non-deadly force fight. To which a deadly force response would not be appropriate unless there are aggravating factors. Now, some of those aggravating factors could be if there were a disparity in size or strength or fighting or ability, or it could be a change in circumstances during the fight. So we see near the end here, the man who's killed gets the other man down on the ground. Well, if you're down on the ground on your back, that's a much more difficult position for most people, untrained people at least, to defend from than if you're the person on top. And it's quite possible that the person on their back on the ground now has so little ability to defend against blows raining down upon them, especially if it's a sustained beating, that the beating could be sufficiently dangerous, sufficiently able to cause serious bodily injury, that it does become a deadly force attack, even though it's barehanded, against which deadly force would be justified. The difficulty in this case, of course, is that it never gets to be a sustained beating. right? The woman's not standing there watching this guy get beat to death on his back on the ground. That doesn't happen. She pulls the gun and fires well before that aggravating circumstance could have occurred. The factor in her favor, arguably, is that she knows the man she shot to habitually carry a knife. She knows his history of violence, his propensity for violence, even deadly force violence. Violence he's used against others has resulted in their death. He did 15 years in prison for that. So could she have a reasonable perception that he was likely to use the knife she knew was on his person and was in fact found on his person to create a deadly force risk to the man on the ground? Well, maybe. Frankly, I'd want to see more than that. Is it possible she overheard the man she shot threatened to use his knife? It's possible he made that verbal threat accompanied by reaching for his waistband or appearing to conduct himself as if he was reaching for a weapon. Maybe. We don't have that evidence here, or at least we don't know if it exists, but those are the legal questions that prosecutors would want to ask in determining whether her assessment of an imminent deadly force threat against which a gun would be appropriate was a reasonable assessment. Okay, so given that discussion of proportionality, we'll pop the survey back up and see if we get any different results this time.
A new survey just launched, so you guys check that out, vote on that. Has your mind changed? We started out at about 95% of the people said bad shot. Then it dropped down to about 83, 82, then went down to 78. Where are you sitting now? Is this a good shot? Ooh, it is dropping even more. Right now we're at 63% of the people are saying that this is 67% are saying it's a bad shot. 57%, 60% a bad shot.
And something to keep in mind, folks, remember the woman, the shooter here, is not required to make perfect decisions in self-defense. She's required only to make reasonable decisions in self-defense based upon her reasonable perceptions, her specialized knowledge of this man's character, and so forth. So mistakes are permitted. She's allowed to do things wrong so long as the mistakes are reasonable mistakes under the circumstances.
So it seems that it swayed quite a bit. You know, we were at 95%, and I think people are going down. I mean, it's gone back up from the 50 to 60%, but it's still considerably less. Most people think still that this is a bad shot. She should not have shot him.
Yeah. So, and that's not an unreasonable position, by the way, folks. Another factor to consider here, of course, is I've talked about this gentleman's propensity of violence, history of violence, his 15-year jail sentence. That was for causing the death of a 16-day-old baby, folks.
Oh, my God.
So, of course, that information, although maybe not directly relevant to this use of force event, is, of course, known to the prosecutor. The prosecutor has this in his report when he's deciding whether or not to take this to trial. He has 25 years history of this man abusing his female partners, violating restraining orders. In fact, this woman, the shooter, had a restraining order against this man when this happened. So he was violating a restraining order right there. He'd previously violated probation multiple times by violating other restraining orders. The woman had a concealed carry permit for her gun. She was licensed to have that gun on her person. So when a prosecutor is looking at this kind of fact pattern, he's also thinking not just necessarily about the nuts and bolts of what's on that video, but also about, is he going to be able to sell this story to a jury? And remember, he has to disprove self-defense beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a very high burden. Does he believe he can convince 6 or 12 jurors beyond a reasonable doubt that this woman didn't act reasonably in self-defense,
Not
given
even close.
the nature and character of this man?
Yeah, no way.
So given that information, folks, does it change your opinion?
Absolutely.
Can we put the survey back up?
Let's get this survey going. This might be our last.
Bad shoot. There's two ways to look at it. One is an absolute sense, which is the normal human way of looking at things. The other is, can you sell it as a good shoot or a bad shoot at a trial? Which is, of course, that's the decision the prosecutor's ultimately making, whether or not he believes he can get a conviction in the case by disproving the justification for the use of force beyond a reasonable doubt.
Just trying to be clear here, Riley, did we publish the last one? Are we able to do this last just to see if it's changed?
It should be a new one.
Okay, this is a new one. So this is the newest one up. Does
And by the
that
way,
information...
folks, for those of you in the comments saying, well, he hadn't pulled the knife yet, you hadn't seen a knife pulled, that's a legitimate concern, but it's not required. What the woman's allowed to use force against is not just a threat actually in progress, but a threat she reasonably believes is immediately about to occur. So, for example, if she knew that this guy had a pattern of fighting in which he would punch people to the ground, then draw his knife and stab them, she doesn't have to wait until the stabbing occurs. She doesn't even necessarily have to wait until the knife comes out, arguably, if it's an established pattern of behavior. Now, we don't know that in this case, but that's the kind of question a prosecutor would want to ask here.
Well, he's already murdered taken a human life already. We know that now.
And of course, this woman would know that.
Right, she knows that.
This is not a stranger encounter.
I'm going with absolutely yes. Great shot. Thank you for doing it. Sorry, but come on, really? Anyone else with me on this one?
We have any new poll results?
Are they seeing it? Can you ask them?
Can you guys see the poll? Are you guys able to see the poll? And are you voting on this poll? I don't know if is this still the old one though? It seems like it's the old one.
It looks like the old one, but it says that there's one live right now.
It says that there's a live poll. Are you guys able to see? Put it in comments real quick. Are you guys able to see this poll that's up right now? And are you able to vote on it? I mean, my instincts are telling me things are about to change here in the poll. If this is a new poll, if this is the old one that I'm seeing results for, it hasn't changed a whole lot. But
so of course,
it looks like
I see in the comments some people examining this from the perspective of what would they do in that situation, what would they do in that moment of time. But of course, from a prosecutor's perspective, it's a broader concern than that. He has this greater context. He's not making a tactical decision in the moment. He's making a legal argument in court, and so he has to consider all this context because it's all going to come out in court, folks. He has to consider all this context and how it's likely to influence a jury in his ability to their mind, to their satisfaction, the juror's satisfaction, disprove self-defense beyond a reasonable doubt unanimously among all those jurors.
No, can't see the poll. That's what people. Nope, can't see the poll. No, can't
Some people
see
are saying. Well, it looks like in the comments, quite a few people changed their position as they got more.
Put them in comments.
Which, of course, is perfectly reasonable, folks. That's how this entire process works in the real world, too. As more evidence is gathered, more witness statements, more context is gathered, our understanding, our perception of what likely happened and how effectively we could sell it, how we could, either from the prosecution's perspective or the defense perspective, build and mold our narratives, our stories that we'll be telling to the jury in the courtroom changes as well as we get that additional information. Now, I know we have a hard stop in a couple minutes, but before we go, there was one other facet to this case, and that is this facility in which this happened had a no guns sign posted on the door. And the woman obviously violated that policy. So the question arises, could she have been prosecuted some way for having violated that policy? In some states, yes. In this state, no. In this state, violating the posting is not a criminal offense. It's a civil offense. You're trespassing. And the prosecution's remarks on this issue were really interesting. He said, look, it's fine for the property owner to put that sign up, but if he really wants to enforce that policy, he needs to put up metal detectors, have armed security, all the things that you would see, for example, at TSA in an airport. And until he's willing to do that, I'm not going to prosecute people for otherwise lawfully being in possession of a gun for defensive purposes in violation of a purely civil sign.
There you go. We're going to have to go here shortly, but there's one other thing that I want to bring up that hasn't really been brought up here that my mind goes to pretty quickly is the jury. And depending on who you get on the jury, and if I was on the jury and this did go to trial, as soon as I find out that he murdered a 16-day-old child, it's going to be impossible to change my mind. I mean, it's going to be impossible for me. I don't. That is an innocent life, and I'm not going to get into all that stuff. But right there, done. It's over. I mean, I was in it. I was following it, trying to play the devil's advocate. But as soon as I hear that, and that's why I think probably the prosecutor, one of the reasons why they just aborted this mission. Like, nope, right? I mean, you got to convince a jury. This guy who had already done that, I don't know, man. Man, it just drives me that drives me nuts. That drives me crazy.
So, folks, before we go, one thing that would be useful, this is obviously a new format we're trying out with the survey questions and so forth. If you like this format, playing the videos over, adding additional information, please let us know. We're always trying new things, and if this is what you folks like, then we'll do more of it.
We're definitely going to do more of it. I can already tell you that right now. The last results, 70% good shot, 30% bad shot. So it flipped.
Almost a complete flip.
Complete flip. Where is it at now?
This was the beginning.
Okay, so we started, the very first time was 12% of the people said it was a good shot. After that poll closed, the final results of the very first one was 12% of people said good shot. On the last one, 70% of the people said good. So we went from 12% to 70% saying good shot. There you go.
Okay, folks, I know we have
there's your jury.
So I'll say my goodbyes. Folks, Law of Self-Defense, don't forget to get your free infographic, lawofselfdefense.com, CTS Elements/CTS Elements. And remember, if you're like me, you carry a gun so that you're hard to kill, so that your family is hard to kill. Folks, know the law so you're hard to convict.
Yes. I do want to say that you guys just participated. You're the jury. Your vote was a vote. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. So that's what we can consider. And look at how fast your trial went from your voting that only 12% of people thought it was a good shot to 70%. You know, and then that's how it works in the courtroom, is that you just get swayed and then you make your final decision. So there's a lot of awesome stuff here. Andrew, thank you so much, man. It's always a pleasure to have you here. And I love doing these shows. I enjoy them. I know lots of people do. It's such a valuable thing. Get the free book, everybody. Just pay the shipping and handling. Make sure you download the 5 Elements of Self-Defense Law as well. That's at lawofselfdefense.com/CTS Elements. The book is lawofselfdefense.com/CTS book. And I got to also tell you, don't go away, okay? I know that we're going to end this show here. And I don't know, whenever they come and pull me out, and we could keep going, we could keep talking, or we could just end this. But we've got something really exciting for you. Something we've never ever done before. We're going to go live and we're going to go behind the scenes. We have something really cool happening. So you might want to stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Right here at Alien Gear Holsters. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you missed this show in its entirety, it will be up later on our YouTube channel. You can go back and watch this whole thing. We've got a bunch of great videos coming at you soon, too. So you want to get a hold of that. Tomorrow is our raffle. Sign up at AlienGearHolsters.com/contest, where you can win a bunch of cool prizes. I even brought some back from SHOT Show for you guys specifically. So next week, Andrew, I feel like this was awesome. I love this format. Let's continue to do this, and we'll do it again next week. Same time, same place. Wednesdays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, right here, live on our Facebook page and YouTube with Alien Gear Holsters. Andrew Branca, thank you very much. Certainly appreciate having you, man. Thanks for your time.
Always happy to be here, Nate.
From all of us at Alien Gear, don't go anywhere. We're going to go live again real quick. Behind the scenes here in our factory, and we've got something cool for you. So until then, please carry safe, carry in comfort, carry on.